Let's see. All right, so we should be officially live now. I'm just gonna check on my phone. Okay. Yeah, looks like we're live. Okay. Mm.
Oh, straight line, no intro script.
No intro. Yeah. I don't know if anyone's in chat yet. Just making sure my phone to make sure. Okay. Sorry. One minute.
Goodness, I haven't streamed in so long. Forgot how to access Twitch. Trying to open chat. 1 second. Oh, open. No, what the heck? Go. Okay, now I can see. Hi, PlayStation dude. Hi, Medwin. Hope I say, I pronounce it right. Hi, Lady Jagan. Thanks for having me.
I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me?
Okay, I'm just talking to chat.
Hey, what's up, guys? How's the sound? I'll do the intro. I'm just waiting to see, get an idea. How's the sound? Can you guys hear both of us?
Hello. Okay. You can hear me, low
Yeah.
whisper,
Can you guys hear L? Can you hear
thumbs
me?
down.
Yeah, let me just make sure the volume is right. She's a bit muffled. Okay,
It's a bit muffled.
let me just
Okay,
increase
I
her
can
volume.
try
No, I can increase her.
to do that. Good.
Okay. Oh shit.
I talk too loud right now. Yeah, I will talk to test the audio.
Mm,
Everyone,
okay, I won't lower my
are
audio too.
you?
Increase the desktop. How's that? Can you hear her better now?
What are we drinking? We're drinking water, filtered water.
Life refreshing aqua.
Nice and
Mhm.
nice and cold.
So how's the volume now
And
though?
if you can hear me, probably talk a little louder
Okay. I do too.
to
Okay.
up your volume again.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm using these headphones, not a mic this time.
Mm. No, yeah. It's probably just I need to increase my. I just increased the desktop audio because that's usually how it captures it. Okay. Is that better? Okay. Okay. Good. Okay. So welcome in, guys, to
Lisa is
episode.
a black screen. Okay, go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead.
go ahead. Welcome in, guys, to episode 5 of the 2 Cents podcast. We're sorry, hold on. Taking a load off mental overload. I'm your host, Gigington Live, and today we have Elisea. Ella, you want to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Elle or Michelle. I'm an artist and I create content around art and also mental health through the lens of an artist. Um, Streamed in a while, but I've been slowly getting back into creating content, and he has me on for the first time in a while, so that's great.
Hey, welcome in. Yeah, so I've known Elle for a few years now. She's a fantastic artist as well. I call her the queen of trust the process because like she'll start a process in art and I'm like, where are you going with this? And then by the end of the stream, I'm like, oh, okay, like this is beautiful. Like but I didn't know we could get to this point. So And she's worked a lot of different jobs too, so she has a lot of life experience that I wanted to invite her on and draw from for this topic. So we're gonna right now, money will be coming, but she's gonna be late, a little late. So we're just gonna jump into some Am I the Asshole stories, and she should be joining soon. That being said, Discord's a little bit finicky, so the windows might jump, and when that happens, I'll just switch the names around. But yeah, I'll read the first story. Elle, I think I sent you some of them. I'll copy and paste the story into the chat. 1 minute. Sorry, 1 minute.
Worries. It's just us. What do we talk about? Can we do while G is gone? Um, see. We can talk a little bit about the topic, taking a load off mental overload. And lately I've been doing a lot of content around productivity, managing stress, and kind of being able to do day-to-day things. And when G asked me what topic we want to do, I'm like, hey, I already started this YouTube video, or I already started writing content on this, and I'm very passionate about productivity.
Okay.
So let's talk about that today.
Okay. Sorry about that. 1 second. All right. So we're gonna get into it with the first story. Let me load that up real quick. And I'll copy that in chat.
And G, all of these stories are about
they're
the
mental.
situation of mental overwhelm.
Yeah, they're mental overload and my the asshole stories. So, yeah, I sent you the ones in. I think I sent them to you in DM. Copy. I'm just gonna.
So you did.
Yeah, post it in chat so you guys can follow along. Okay. And I'll read the first one, and then I'll ask you to read the second one out.
Okay, I'm just kidding, but I can do that.
Okay. Am I the asshole for not inviting my sister to dinner and causing her to have a mental breakdown? I, 27 male, am the youngest of 3 siblings. I am the only one that's grown up here in the United States. Meanwhile, my sisters grew up in my family's native country, isolated from a lot of technology. That is why I often serve as my family's tech support whenever something is wrong. My oldest sister, 39, bought a computer recently and asked to help her set it up and install a couple of programs. I was honestly super busy that day with school. I'm a grad student, but I put some things aside and installed the programs and gave her a quick guide on how to use it. A couple of weeks later, my sister called asking me if I could help install the programs she had brought onto her old computer because she was returning the one she had bought. I told her I didn't have the time that day, but I could probably help her with it a week later. She sounded a bit annoyed after that, but said it was fine. A week later, she called me once again and I told her she could come over to my house and I could uninstall the programs for her new computer, but she would have to wait a couple of days for the program to be downloadable on the old computer since the license wouldn't be automatically available. Immediately after this, she asked why I hadn't told her last week and that it was a lie and I just didn't want to help her. I sent her a screenshot from a forum discussing her exact same situation, but she ignored it and called me a liar and egotistical for not doing or wanting to help her. I got a bit aggravated by this and told her there was nothing I could do, but if she was going to have this attitude, I just wouldn't help her. All she did was hang up. About an hour later, she sent me a long-winded text, basically calling me an egotistical maniac for never wanting to help others and only demanding things from her, and that she is tired of helping me out and never receiving anything in return, and to never return to her home. My sister had been helping me with a diet regimen and lending me her garage, which modified into a workout room since I wanted to get in better shape, but I had also helped her and her husband through this time, so I didn't think it was too much of a bother. I replied to I replied to her telling her that I wasn't being egotistical or anything, but that I simply could not help her in that case, and told her if she believed I was in that way, that it was better to leave it at that. I also thanked her for lending me her garage. The next few weeks were tense to say the least. I would visit my parents' house and my sister would simply ignore me. I chucked it down to her being mad, so I didn't think too much of it. My mom sensed the tension and asked me what was the issue. I told her the situation and she told me she felt bad since she had basically made my sister lazy and always dependent on others. I told her it wasn't her fault, and if my sister wanted to be mad and not speak to me, it was her issue and had nothing to do with me. I'll post the rest in a separate comment. Okay, so there's more. Um, I
More.
guess goes, yeah, that goes with the.
There it is.
Sorry, it's not loading.
Like I gotta take notes. Oh my goodness. Oh,
Okay, I found it. Wow, this is a very long story. I didn't know this. About a week and a half later, I invited my family over to my house to celebrate my sister's boyfriend's birthday party. I invited everyone in the family except my older sister, since I assumed she wouldn't go even if I did. I prepared a couple of steaks with a sweet potato salad and had the family over. My sister posted a picture of the gathering to her Instagram, and my older sister saw the post. About 2 hours later, I got from my mom saying my older sister had an episode and called her hyperventilating and say we all hated her. I rushed to her house, but her husband didn't allow me in. My mom told me it would be better if I left, so I did. I told my sister if she could keep me updated, and this morning I got a text from my sister saying my older sister had a breakdown because she thought I had turned the family against her and outcasted her. I was dumbfounded, and I told her that it wasn't the case, but my dad had believed her and now won't talk to me. I have no idea what else my older sister said happened, but I don't think it was anything nice. My mom hasn't said anything to me either. I don't think she believes what happened, but she has been spending every day with her since, and I haven't seen her when I visit the house. My dad, on the other hand, just ignores me. So my question is, am I the asshole for not inviting my sister over for dinner, or am I the asshole for not doing more to help her with her computer issues? So this person seems to have in reliance to the story in our topic. So it seems like the mental overload in this case was her having a breakdown, feeling that her brother turned the family against her. So his question is he the asshole, I guess, for not doing more to help her with her computer issues and maybe causing the breakdown? So I guess what do you think?
Oh, my first reaction is that there's two instances of I can hear myself in the other room. My sister is watching, I think. So I think there's two instances of mental overwhelm here for the writer, the person writing here, the author, as well as the sister. But very, very different perspectives. I think that I'll first say that the person writing is not an asshole because he's setting boundaries, you know. So like there are a lot of situations, especially for those who have families that live in other countries, and the youngest often who seems to have gotten the most opportunities. Siblings will kind of reach out or expect more. Sorry, I'm trying to. As a disclaimer, everyone, there's a lot of things happening in my surroundings. If I mumble, I'm trying to stay focused. By noises that you might not hear. Okay, so just to gather my thoughts here. No, he's not the asshole for fighting the sister, because I think he's setting boundaries based off of her reaction. And then even just by writing this out, you can tell that he's suffering from his own mental overwhelm, and I'll talk about the sister in a bit. But because he's bearing this weight, like even though he's setting the boundaries and he's saying, oh yes, I can help you with this, and he helps without expectation, you know. Like this, it sounded like the sister expects things from him, like say, I did this for you, so I expect you to do this for me, and there's this consistent expectation. But then from his perspective, he will help just to help. You know, there is not this, I will help because I want something in return. it feels like maybe he believes that he should provide and he should be helping more. The fact that he wrote an essay like this shows me that there's this weight of his sister's feelings. Like the sister is making it all about her, not considering his feelings and all. Even though he has done so much to help her, and just set that boundary, he's like still feeling that emotional weight. Like, should I have done more? Could I do more? Like, is my sister's overreaction my problem? And that's imposing in his own overwhelm, you know? So, good thing is he's seeking answers here. Hopefully people tell him he's not the asshole.
Yeah.
Setting boundaries, you know? But that's my perspective on him. I can talk about her in a bit, but you can go first if you want to input anything.
So I've had experience where I've had issues with family and they don't provide the most support where I need, so I kind of feel for the guy in a sense. I don't think he's the asshole. I feel from oh, am I really low? Okay, I'll boost my mic once again. All right, how's that? Is that better? Let me know. Okay, I think I'm just gonna keep talking, and if it's better, I'll try to speak up. So I think in this situation, it seems like, based off what we know, that he helps her as much as she does, and I guess maybe the way in which he helped her she didn't like, or the way that he did it she didn't like, and she probably held a grudge against him. It seems like, and she went too far, I feel like, when she was like, he's not welcome in her home. It seems like she's the one that pushed him away. So to blame him and be like, oh, he turned the family against it, I feel like there's internalized guilt there. And so she's like projecting, I feel like she knows she's wrong, or maybe that she went too far. And now, like, that was one of the reasons, instead of just admitting that she was wrong and maybe trying to fix things with her brother, she decided that, she was gonna not take responsibility and just put all the blame on him. And like, I feel like that internalized guilt contributed to her mental overload and broke her down. So I don't think he's the asshole. I think, and like, it's not like he was like nonchalant about it. He still wanted updates on his sister, and he tried to go over to the house when she did have the breakdown to go and check on her. But her husband wouldn't let it in because I guess they were united in the front that he was being an asshole, whatever. It just sucks too that like the parents seem to be taking sides instead of trying to mediate the situation and get to the bottom of it. So I don't think he's the asshole. I feel like sometimes there are people in our family that maybe they either have favorites or they're more willing to believe one family member over the other instead of trying to find both sides and make their own opinions. And it feels like this is a case in that, where like some family members decided to only look at one side and be like, oh, she's completely right, or based off this, they go one side of the story and didn't listen to the other. And I feel like this is the situation. So I would say he's not the asshole. Sorry, yeah, but go ahead. You said you wanted to add something else.
I agree with what you said, but now her side, it's, you can tell that people sometimes get overwhelmed with, they're trying to think about things that they have no control over. Like, there's two perspectives. She's trying to control him and his actions, and she wants things now, and when things aren't the way you want it, then that leads to kind of getting overwhelmed because they're learning to do the things that you can't control, right? Then so just like these insecurities of like thinking about actually might have to step away for literally only 2 minutes.
Yeah, no problem. Go ahead.
Yeah, just that, like, this, she wants to control everything and others, and she can't. I could talk to her. I would talk to her about that. Like she needs to focus on the things she can do.
Mm-hmm.
Being kind of understand talking open communication with her
Mm-hmm.
brother and not thinking that the world is against her.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she can't control other people. The only person she can control is herself.
Mm-hmm.
She's spiraling because she can't control her family's reactions and or her brother.
Mm-hmm.
That said, you talk more about your opinions, and
Yeah,
I'll
go
be right
ahead.
back.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay.
Take your time.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, so he's also the, I also find it weird. I think we talked about last time on the we have the name switched around. But I think we talked about it last time on the last episode about siblings and like how different siblings depending on how you were born was brought up. And apparently he's the baby of the family. He's the youngest sibling. So it's, I don't know. I guess maybe it's based off country, but usually one of the things I find uh is similar between siblings of different ages is usually the youngest is the most spoiled. The oldest is the test child and the middle child is the like invisible one. Um so I'm guessing maybe it's switched around because he in the poster says that in his native country, um that his sisters grew up in his native country and they're isolated from technology. It's just crazy to me how this became an issue off of something so little and it escalated to this far. But I feel maybe it's just something that's been brewing um, for a while in their family, and now it's just this incident caused it to come to a head. Welcome back.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I was
We
just talking
can.
about like the I don't know if you've ever heard of like how like different uh, depending on how you were born in terms of family structure, how you're treated differently, like if you're an older sibling versus if you're a younger sibling. But yeah, I was just breaking down that insensitive story.
um, I think I, to a certain extent, can relate
Mm-hmm.
a bit. That I do. I feel like I do a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Don't necessarily ever expect family or friends. I don't expect help or anything in return,
Mm-hmm.
but I always do a lot without asking or expecting anything,
Mm-hmm.
and still feel guilty if
Mm-hmm.
it feels like it wasn't enough, which is
Mm-hmm.
very irrational.
Mm-hmm.
In those times, I tend to like write out what I'm thinking, write out the situation
Mm-hmm.
and why I'm thinking this, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's me just overthinking things and becoming overwhelmed for no reason, and
Mm-hmm.
that usually helps take me out of that sense of guilt when there really is no place for it.
Yeah, 100%. Do you feel like in terms of mental overload, I'm not sure if you're a middle child or younger, the youngest or the eldest. Do you feel like
The
that
youngest.
the youngest, do you feel like as the youngest that like there was something to do with mental overload there? Like do you feel like there was more pressure for you? Or do you feel like mentally you didn't suffer much as a being the youngest
They're
sibling?
more pressure. I think just, um, may have been more. I feel like I always try to never disappoint my parents, and
Mm-hmm.
not to say that that's being the youngest, but there's definitely a more coddled, like I'm the baby mindset,
Mm-hmm.
and I need to do well, and I need to be perfect, and I can't make I can't make mistakes, and um, that said, I think growing up in my relationship with my siblings, I haven't myself or I haven't really necessarily acted like the youngest.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm in a position to
Mm-hmm.
help. And if anything, it's more climbing out of that image of I'm the baby or I'm the little most the youngest. But I'm like I'm kind of old now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a baby anymore, so
Mm-hmm.
um, can kind of be I want to be more treated as an adult when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to certain situations.
Okay, I can see how like there would be struggles with that. Well, depending on your family dynamic, but yeah, I can see that. Okay, so I guess we're in agreement that he's not the asshole then. I feel like, me personally, I feel like he did everything that he could to try to help, and he was just, they didn't want his help, but they wanted to not be the villain, quote unquote. Unless you disagree.
There's just so much movement around me. Sorry. Okay.
No worries.
I agree. I agree everything that we just said.
Okay. Do you want to read the second Am I the Asshole story then?
Which one should I read? Can you also link it?
Yeah, I'll link it in the chat. I think I sent them to your Discord DMs, but I'll also put them in the chat. Okay, this one is, am I the asshole for ignoring my friend after her mental breakdown?
Okay.
There you go, chat, so you can follow along.
Okay, so me and my friend, let's call her F, have been close friends for around a year now. Me and F have had our struggles with our mental health issues and have tried to always be there for each other. However, this week was the last straw for me. I overheard some people talking about F during one of my classes, and one of the people talking badly about F was her best friend. She had multiple things about her that I thought were horrible, or she said multiple things about her that I thought were horrible and not true, and I was shocked. I ended up telling F all the things they said about her, and she was devastated. And her friend had already been having issues in their friendship for a while, but this was the last straw for her. She sent her a lengthy paragraph discussing all the things that were wrong with their friendship, and some of the things she said were unreasonably cruel. I tried to support my friend during this time as I knew that she was struggling because this was her best friend. However, around 2 days later, I received a message from another close friend of mine who was related to the F's ex-best friend. None of you all can following the relationship here. Okay. They told me that F and her old friend used to talk really badly about me, even to the point of body shaming me and trying to start rumors about me and our friend group. Apparently, F's friend had wanted to tell me, but was afraid that I would choose sides during their argument. I was heartbroken. The same thing trying to help my friend through was now happening to me because of her. I had never felt so backstabbed and betrayed. I sent F a text asking if what I had heard was true, but my phone died, so I couldn't get a proper response. Later, during a club meeting I was leading, F came barging into the room crying and cursing. She kept referring to her ex-best friend using slurs and saying that it was all her fault. I got her out of that room and into a safe space to try and make sure she was okay. I told her I didn't want to talk about it now and that my main priority was making sure that she was okay. She continued to cry and curse for a while, saying she was sorry and that her ex-friend was just using this to try and make her look bad. Still in shock and hurt, but I wasn't able to speak about how I felt. I had to make sure F was okay first. I've never really been able to share my feelings or thoughts with F because the conversation is constantly about her. She calmed down, she explained that it was true, and she and her old friend used to talk really poorly about me behind my back. And while me and F were claimed she was sorry and that it wasn't her fault, as she was only doing it to try and fit in with her friend. Eventually someone came, picked her up so she could go home and rest, and I haven't had a real conversation with her since. She repeatedly told me she is sorry, but every time I say it's okay and move on, I don't know what to do here. I've been struggling to talk about this to anyone because it is a messy situation. What should I do?
Oh, okay. And there's excerpt. I'll just read that. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I am choosing to ignore my friend that decided to talk badly about me and then confronted me during a mental breakdown. I feel like me ignoring someone who struggles with issues involving me is not the right thing to do, but I truly don't know what to do here. If I were the one struggling, the last thing I would want to do is for my friend to leave me. So that's a little messy, because it is due to it is due to mental overload, but at the same time, you're still talking shit about your friend, right? Like, I don't know. Me personally, I don't think she's the asshole. I feel like in a situation like that, you're free to either help her or not. I don't think either decision would make her the asshole here. But that's just my opinion. Like I said, I guess some people would say you should make allowances for the fact that she's struggling mentally, but I don't know. I feel like if you're bad mouthing someone and I'm the subject, like it's my choice whether or not I decide to help that person or not.
I think this is this time again that not necessarily disregarding
Mm-hmm.
the one that's having the outburst or
Mm-hmm.
like the outward mental overload or like breakdown. Um, but I think the one here again bearing the weight of it all is writing,
Mm-hmm.
because the person, just because someone is like being a breakdown and coming to you saying I'm sorry, like that should not be the author's responsibility
Exactly.
to figure that out and to solve it.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, from what I can tell, is she's only upset because she got caught
Mm-hmm.
talking crap about her friend,
Yeah.
and she's losing sense of control over the situation. That's why she's freaking out, because again, she cannot control
Mm-hmm.
her friend's reaction. She cannot control that this friend who's been kind to her now like exposed and knows what she's been saying.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the friend who had the mental breakdown or like freaking out, it seems,
Mm-hmm.
she has to have her own advice about taking a step back. That it is not her friend's responsibility to solve her issues. It's not her friend's responsibility to forgive her
Mm-hmm.
or to make her feel better for her own actions. She has to take responsibility for her own actions.
Mm-hmm.
Stop putting the weight of what happened,
Mm-hmm.
of what she did, onto her friend.
Yeah.
So that's her own thing. So the author is, she's not the asshole for ignoring her friend.
Mm-hmm.
Again, she is setting a boundary.
Mm-hmm.
Here she is again, a good friend, and feeling that overwhelm or feeling that guilt and bearing that weight that someone else's emotions or someone else's like stress is putting on her.
Mm-hmm.
So both of these people again, matter of setting the right boundaries
Mm-hmm.
and finding their own ways to cope with the situation.
Okay. Lady says she would stop being her friend, and she said she also agrees with you. She said exactly, got caught and can't even own up to it. Who knows how much of that was to fit in and what legitimate feelings of hate towards the original poster. Yeah, that's like I said, it's, you can't really, she's saying to do it to fit in, but it's like, if you're my friend, like, like, why are you using me as a scapegoat to join this social group by sacrificing me and talking shit about me? Um, and I think that's valid too. I mean, I feel like I don't know. I don't feel like I should be feeling guilty for not wanting to be friends with that person in there. So I guess we agreed then that you're not the asshole. I don't think there's like any wrong way in which the original poster could have handled it, because it's like, I don't know, just my friends wouldn't talk about me just to fit in, right? Like, I don't think that's a good friend, but yeah, I don't, you can't even blame mental illness even then. I feel like there's, like you said, they're setting a boundary and they have to be accepting of it because they're the one that messed up, right? Okay. So I'm gonna move on to the next story. Let's see, where are we at in terms of time? Because I don't want to dive too in. 34? Okay, we're not too bad. I do know. Let's see. Copy and paste this one.
Check your headphones.
Nah, Gio will talk crap to your face. That's what. Well, you're a different lady. I know you're gonna talk shit to my face, but it's different. Let's see. Okay. The next one is, am I the asshole for mistreating my friends in the middle of a mental breakdown? So kind of piggybacking on the other earlier story. Okay. I 17, and I don't know what this is, NB? I don't know what the abbreviation for that would be. Was at a sleepover at 18. Oh, non-binary, I guess. Okay. So I 17 non-binary was at a sleepover with my friends 18 non-binary. 17 male, and then another C 17 female. Oh, this is a big sleepover. And D 17 male. When I had pretty much the worst mental breakdown of my life. For context, I have autism, sensory disorder, and CPTSD. I don't think CPTSD. I don't think I've heard of that one. Along with a few other conditions that make my mental health difficult to deal with. My friends and I arrived at Dee's house at around about 4 to 5 p.m. We were hanging out and having a lot of fun. Time flew past and everything was going great until about 10 to 10:30 p.m. when I started feeling really tired and felt myself starting to have a meltdown. I decided that I was going to leave before it got worse because with distance from other people and sleeping in my own bed, it usually pans out okay. I tell everyone that I need to leave, telling them that I'm starting to feel unwell. They knew it was the beginning of an episode. I pick up my things and my keys and head to the door, where I find B standing at the door and blocking my path. All my friends stared, telling me that I am in no state to be driving. I knew at the time that it wasn't a big deal. That it wasn't ideal, but it would be pretty safe for me to drive. I go to the other door where D is blocking me, etc. By this point, they were being confrontational and physically trying to restrain me, which triggered one of the worst meltdowns of my life. From that point forward, I had no rational thought or logical decision making. They continued to try stopping me by sitting in my car with the doors open, trying to pry the keys from my hand and continued to confront me about it all, which made my mental state even worse. I run off and begin walking home, 2-hour walk. Unfortunately, half the walk is through a town that is known to be unsafe after dark. I run into a few people on the way home, and to sum it up, I'm amazed I wasn't hurt, because I was completely dazed and confused and in no position to defend myself. Eventually, after I made it halfway home, B's mother found me, and after a lot of coaxing, I eventually let her take me home. I barely remember that part, but according to her, I looked like a scared animal. 2 days after, my friends text me to talk about it, and all of a sudden, everything's my fault. I tried to explain that I had a mental breakdown, to which they ignored and said I was just acting stupid and rude that night. I tried to then explain that they were the ones who triggered the breakdown in the first place, and that if they simply let me drive home, I would have been safe and fine. They don't get it. They don't give it a thought, saying that they were simply trying to look after me and that I was being irrational whilst ignoring the mental breakdown. After talking to them over text, I was feeling so angry and frustrated, and it sent me into yet another mental breakdown, thankfully much milder this time. I'm completely emotionally exhausted and I can't figure it out whether it's my fault or not. Am I the asshole? So I guess I'll get your opinion first. Do you feel like the friends overreacted or reacted the right way?
First I was gonna say they're wrong. They wrong approach. They had good intentions, and so they said that he was acting stupid and rude. So they obviously don't know what they're talking about. So I obviously don't have this credentials to speak on like like episodes or mental illnesses and things like that. However, regardless of thing, you know yourself best, and you know what triggers you and the steps you need to take to bring yourself down or to address your issue. Like, what are the systems and things that you put in place to help you get back on track? Because no matter what, like, things will happen. You'll be triggered. You'll feel like an episode coming on. You know how to you know yourself best, right? And it sounds like they don't know him at all. That said, he's not the asshole. He knew that he needed space and that he needed to go home and that he was starting to feel unwell, and he told his friends that. His friends sounds like, again, it's kind of a matter of control. It's like
Mm-hmm.
they want the situation to be perfect. They want sleepover to be perfect. They, their approach is like, no, 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 you cannot leave. You gotta stay. We know best for you, but they don't know him. So they're the ones that are being the asshole for trying to control the situation.
Mm-hmm.
He knew himself best that he needed to step away.
Mm-hmm.
I've made this mistake too, where in order to make myself feel better, so meaning like it's like the jerk friends,
Mm-hmm.
in order to make themselves feel better and make the night good, wanted to solve the situation now. They
Mm-hmm.
wanted that friend to feel good now, to stay. I've done that too to make myself feel better. I wanted the other person to talk things out now, to solve it now, like
Mm-hmm.
feel better now, you know? And it doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
The other person knows they need space, can't talk it out right now, and they know how to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Not the asshole. He was doing the right things for himself
Mm-hmm.
and really messed up.
Yeah. I'm just gonna read some comments before I give my opinion. A lady says, I feel like they could have offered OP a ride home just to make sure they were okay instead of trying to cage them, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. PS dude said it's
It would ruin their
definitely.
sleepover.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know, it's not just applies to this, but I feel like a lot of people do that because they don't want their good time to be messed up. They will disregard someone else's feelings or a state of like danger just so that they can have a good time. Um, I think based on the story, initially I felt like they had good intentions and maybe they felt like in the distressed state that they were in that they shouldn't be driving, which I guess again there's a lot of context missing, so we don't know like what a mental breakdown looks like for them. But as lady said, they could have offered a ride, or even if they didn't want to go and take her or take them home, they could have called an Uber to have the person dropped off home and then maybe come get their car later on. Like you said, and I agree with you, the OP knows themselves better and what a mental breakdown looks like. And it's not like they wanted to ruin the good time for everyone else. They said, I'm just gonna separate myself because I know what I'm like. So they were also being considerate of the friends and the event that was going on. So I don't necessarily think that they're asshole. I know that friends that don't really deal with that don't always. I feel like the friends did have good intentions. I feel like they were. I can't find the word for it. I wouldn't say sensitive, but they disregarded maybe the severity of the mental breakdown, of the mental issues. Like some people who don't want to take medications for mental illness, they'll be like, oh, you're not trying hard enough, or, you just need to focus or whatever. And I felt like that's kind of the attitude that they had, even if they were trying to have good intentions. So I
I think,
don't necessarily, go ahead.
well, you can finish and then I'll go.
Yeah, I don't really necessarily think that they were assholes. I feel like I think that they just thought that because obviously like they stopped the guy from going home because they didn't want him to like be in a worse state like by driving or maybe crash into something. So I feel like their intentions were good versus them like really caring about the party. I just think that they went the wrong way about it. So I feel just like maybe more having a sit down with them and explaining to them what a mental breakdown looks like for them would help. But at the same time, it's not in that situation. It's different. Um, but yeah, go ahead.
Was gonna say is like they don't even have to understand what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
They're missing the key question
Mm-hmm.
when anyone is stressed is, um, how can I? What do you need from me? How can I help you?
Mm-hmm.
Very clearly, he could have said, "I need a ride," or "I need to go home,"
Mm-hmm.
or "I just need you to be there." Like it's never like this because this is what I think is best for you.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, what do you need from me? And they missed that
Mm.
mark.
That's very true. I didn't consider that. Yeah, and I feel that's overlooked. Um, and I guess it goes back to that like question of like good intentions. You might have good intentions, but it does more harm than good. So yeah, I necessarily, if 100% based off the situation, I feel like the OP did the best thing in terms of how they handled it, and they allowed everyone to know why they were leaving instead of just trying to power through their mental breakdown and making that a problem for everyone else. So 100%. Okay, let me see where we are for time. Okay, we're still good on good time. Guess we can do another story. Let's see.
I know it's OP. I keep saying I'm like
Mhm.
author, writer. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it original
Yeah,
poster? Is
original
that what that is?
poster. Yeah. Yeah, Reddit
Okay.
has its own lingo too. Let's see.
Mm, not on Reddit.
Yeah, I don't, yeah, just to close out the last story. I don't think the OP was mistreated their friends. Um like I said, it also in a moment of panic, like I don't, they're already overloaded. I don't see what they could do, right? Okay, I'm gonna have you read the next one, L. It's the am I the asshole for telling my wife it's time she went back to work? I'll post it in the chat. 1 minute. But I should have DM'd it to you.
Have it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, way account. My wife follows my main. Right,
Hmm?
I mean, that's a water.
Yeah, yeah, no worries. Take your time.
I'm kind of chuckling at the "this is my secret account" comment. Okay. My wife has been out of work since 2018. When did they post it? 7 months ago. Okay.
Mhm.
She had a mental breakdown during her 5th year of teaching. She has been going to therapy since. She started marriage counseling during COVID. Reason for marriage counseling was because she thought I was pushing her too hard to go back to work before her and her therapist thought she was ready. I tried to explain many times that that was not my intent, but for me to keep realistically speaking, for me to keep up with expenses and retirement contributions, I pretty much have to take on extra shifts, which sometimes clock in over 18 hours a day, and on average I have been pulling 84 hours weeks. I have been doing this since she stopped working. Recently had a fight because I had an extremely rough week and I had the conversation again about her going back to work. She opened up with the same line that she always does. We do not feel it is the right time yet because I have made great progress, and if I rush it, I run the risk of losing it. We being her and the therapist. What I really do not give uh, enough what her therapist has to say, and I am sick of you hiding behind her words whenever this topic comes up. Started to cry, telling me she does not like being this way either, and I am belittling her due to suffering from mental health issues. I replied saying I do not intend to belittle you or not take your issues seriously. Problem is, I am running myself ragged, and what happens if I have a mental break? Do you think I will have the luxury of not working? No, I will push through my demons. She said her therapist warned her this would happen sooner or later, that I would try to manipulate her into doing something she was not ready to do. This is when I really lost it and just let it all out. Did not say anything kind. I told her she insults me for thinking I'm doing is manipulation. I told her I'm working these extra shifts so she can be home and bullshit playing games. I told during this entire time you have not even made an effort to improve on certain skills. I told her she can still not cook to save her life,
Oof.
and that was sick of coming home after 12 or 18-hour days just make us dinner because her idea of making dinner is pretty pre-made in the oven and or ordering out. Among other things, she said she stormed out the house yelling and shouting, I'm a piece of shit, and rather see myself comfortable with her getting better. Here I am. I do not feel at the core I am wrong, and while what I said was harsh, I think it did have to be said. So Reddit, was I the asshole here? I should I read the update as well?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Hey, I appreciate the replies. Going to leave a quick update to answer and clarify what I can. I apologize if I missed something. Think nonetheless. Yes, I have been to a couple of sessions with my wife and her therapist. To be honest, I largely felt I was getting ganged up on. My wife brought up how I was always tired, so I explained I'm working harder to maintain our home. When I suggested part time work would allow me to work less, their counter suggestion was things like saving for retirement and hold off on paying off debt and tackle such things after my wife gets better. Then I suggest renting out the house to cover the mortgage and we downsize to an apartment. Her therapist said such a drastic change to her environment could have a negative impact on her depression and advises against such major life changing events. In another session, she brought up how my suggestion she tries cooking to save is money, so we do not order so much. She felt insulted because, in terms of money coming in, I am making slightly more than our combined income, and she was able to cover her expenses, so she does not understand why we are having such a hard time. Honest, it has less to do with money per se, and more so the fact that the amount of hours I have to work to maintain the income. I told her I pretty much am working two full-time jobs. The cooking or doing things around the house was dropped fairly quickly, and became a critic on how I cannot manage money since I'm making more. Yeah, I never had issues when she was working with how she spent. Thus, every session became what I could do to help my wife, and I get it. Her therapist has to look out for my wife, and generally my concerns are small compared to my wife's. My wife is not a huge fan of our marriage counselor because she offers suggestions that go against her therapist. My friend has also suggested I speak with a lawyer to see exactly what my options are. After reading many of the comments and thinking back on everything, I think I'm going to do that. I love my wife and I know she is sick, but I'm good to know, and if I keep up this pace. Two more paragraphs. One second. Thank you so much for the replies and advice. Slow morning, only had one field call, so I was looking over the thread with a colleague and close friend. After talking, I have decided to put in a request for 2 weeks vacation. During that time, I'm going to relax with my friends, play some Baldur's Gate 3, and also get my shit together. Going to speak with the lawyer and see what options are because I was young and dumb and much of her debt is mine because I co-signed and have a joint account. I will go to the doctor for the first time in 4 years and make sense everything is still working as it should. In this time, my friend said I could crash at their place, so I'm going to take him up on that offer. This will be my final post here, though. Going over this, I made this post for all the wrong reasons. This is something that should not have been posted publicly, and I was pegged for that. Even so, I thank everyone because a lot of what was said was what I needed to hear. I do not have much of a family. Both my parents passed. Thanks for the tough love. Something has to change, and if my wife is unable, I have to do it. I am young. I should be enjoying my life. I am not even 30 yet, as my friend said. I aged so much in these last 5 years. It is scary. My friend showed me pictures from before all this happened. I want to go back to the person I was then. And I agree. I was the asshole for what I said, but I do not regret it. It's the wake up call I needed.
Hmm. So, guess we'll get your take first and give my little 2 cents.
I tend to speak in a long essay. So
Okay.
do you want?
I mean,
You sure you
I'm
want me
fine
to
with
go
either.
first?
I feel like again, it's hard sometimes with these stories because like you want to get one side, you know what I mean? But just based off the story, it feels like he was again, like I said, she was mentally overloaded, but based off of the story, it seems like she wasn't even trying to do the little that she could to maybe ease the situation. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and he was just sick of it. And like from what he said, she wasn't even trying. I think he was the asshole in the sense that like the way you talk to people definitely does matter. Even if the message is right, the way you deliver a message is crucial because like you can say to someone, "Oh, you need to drink water, or else you're just going to be dehydrated," or you versus saying, "Oh, you look like a withered corpse. Why aren't you drinking water?" Now, the way someone takes something, I'm not going to want to drink water because you insulted me, even though like it's the right thing to do. I need water. you know you told me I look like a withered corpse, so I'm not going to want to take your advice. So I think the way you deliver something is very important. Unfortunately, it feels like he was mentally overloaded and just laid into her. I don't necessarily think he was the asshole. I think the way he went about it was assholey, but he's been working, he's been putting in the hours just to maintain both of their lifestyles, and it's like she's not doing anything to try to because like sometimes you don't make the same income as your partner, but there are things you can do to like balance it out. And he's saying that like all he got was pre-cooked oven meals, Stouffer's, I'm assuming, and like just ordering it out every now and again, and that wasn't enough. He wanted some home cooked meals, but based off, it seems also too, like based off his the information, she didn't really want to do anything. She just wanted to be taken care of, and it seems like her therapist was enabling that behavior as well, because it wasn't she wasn't, I mean, and obviously like she's being paid to just care about her client, but like she wasn't trying to offer solutions that would also take into his situation, like what was going through him and how he might be overloaded, and she was just solely focusing on her. I don't think he was the asshole. I i feel like it was a necessary thing that came to a head, and now he's dealing with it. I like I said, the way you deliver a message definitely is important. So I think he's the asshole for that, but aside from like doing what he needed to do, I don't think so. Um, Go ahead.
Let's see.
And I don't think
I think,
blaming her. Sorry. Go ahead.
are me okay?
Yeah, I was just gonna add. I don't think blaming her mental, what is it, mental breakdown. She said, yeah, I don't think blaming her mental breakdown about teaching is is gonna help her get better. Like you have to try. I know how hard it is when your mental state is very hard, but you have to try. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Mm, I, of course, he may have said some mean things,
Hmm.
but I may think that he's not the asshole even for saying what he said because
Hmm.
it sounds like he tried many, many times, kind and to be patient, and this was a breaking point. So times, sometimes you need snap and be mean. I don't. He doesn't sound like he said anything too explicitly of pocket.
Hmm.
You know, things that been nicer, but to what point can he still be nice, right?
Hmm.
At what point does he still has to stay considerate of her feelings? Again, I rather than focusing on the person who's had has the mental health issues or like that the stated issues, I'm more concerned about the OP
Hmm.
and um, um I can't speak to what the therapist says about the wife. If they say that like she's not ready yet and things like that, like you sometimes you really are not ready yet,
Hmm.
and that's fair. However, this is a unique situation where that doesn't necessarily mean that you can put it all on your partner, and you can't. You have to. You stop being considerate and making compromises with your partner.
Hmm.
It's obvious this the husband or the OP working all of these hours and just asking for even a little bit, um, it's like he's not getting anything. There's no proper communication on how to move forward.
Hmm.
So focusing on the so I can't speak to the therapist and the wife. They need to work on that. They need to work on steps for her actually improving
Hmm.
action steps to move forward with, like not just saying sorry, I'm not ready yet.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem reasonable to me. I'm not a therapist, I can't say that, but the a therapist gives you actionable steps to take small steps forward and things like that.
Yeah, I
We
agree.
want the
Hmm.
husband, again, he's taking the weight of her issues, and it is not his job to solve. And it sounds like he's taking the right direction and prioritizing himself,
Hmm.
seeking help, and that's the best he can do.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. Also something just to reference back to the story. He the point he made was a very valid one. He said like, what happens if I suffer a mental breakdown? What, do I get to take a break now and like you're gonna pick up the slack for me? No, I'm gonna have to power through it. Like, and also, I mean, like as someone that was in the social work field and like was going for the degree, um social workers, we have like an action plan for our clients so that they can provide for themselves and empower themselves. And like I kind of feel like at the base level, the therapist would have something for the wife to do so she can get back on her feet. So I don't know. I would even doubt the credibility of the therapist for her to just be like, "Oh, we're just gonna take a passive stance on you getting better into a better mental place." And yeah, so I don't think that necessarily the OP is the asshole. Like I said, it's still the delivery, because like I said, depending on the person. I mean, some people deal better with like hearing something with tough love in that sense. Some people need it spoon fed to them so they can get along. I guess it depends on the type of partner you should have. Like, sometimes yelling, I'm not saying, I'm not advocating for yelling at someone, but sometimes that's what they need to get, to get back in the saddle. Some people need a more spoon fed method where it's, slowly broken down to them. So I don't know what the dynamic was for him and his wife. That's the only part I would say he's the asshole. Otherwise, I would say no. Lady says, I wonder if we are missing information or if the OP is not being told the whole story from his wife. I kind of feel like the therapist and the wife were kind of in cahoots on just maintaining what she didn't need to do. I don't know. I don't think personally, I don't think she's a good therapist if she didn't have an action plan for the wife to get back on her feet. So, but that's just my take. So I'd say no, he's not the asshole. Also,
But it
he
was
said,
also,
go ahead.
I was gonna say it's also a red flag to me that the therapist dared the wife to
Mhm.
think that the husband would manipulate her, rather
Yeah.
than, because it's not manipulation, it's to have a conversation and to work together.
Hmm.
And it's like set
Yeah.
her up for a toxic mindset.
Yeah. It was weird that they had a pre-conversation about, oh, that my therapist said you would do this. Like, you don't know the husband, you don't know what he's
Mm.
going through for you to just suggest that. It is really weird. Also, I feel like again, the OP is like pretty strong because like from the edits and stuff, um, he lost both his parents. So having no one to go to where you can vent and like let that out is very hard. And then he's just working and building that up in his head. So I can understand why he snapped at her. Because his wife, his partner is not even a safe space for him to be like, oh well, this is what's overwhelming me. Or maybe he was telling her and she just wasn't, she didn't care. So I don't think she was an asshole. I mean, I don't think he was an asshole.
I
That's
think
my
he
opinion.
was.
You think he was an asshole?
I don't think he was.
Oh, you don't think he was? Yeah, I don't think he was either. Okay, so I think are we an hour in? Okay, so I think we'll just move to the section where we just talk about the topic at hand, and I'll start asking you the questions and pull up my first question. Okay, so my first question for you in terms of the topic, mental overload and dealing with that, what are some of the biggest factors that you believe contribute to mental overload?
That was a big question. Um, I think there's, depending on the situation, it could be a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
But at least for me,
I
one of
guess
the
maybe
things
I
that I
should be more
pinpoint.
specific. So, okay. When it comes to let's say work life, what would you say is the biggest factors that contribute to mental health, or at least for you?
So if I let me start talking, and if I answer the question, then we're lucky.
Yeah,
But
no worries, no worries.
and I mentioned it a lot in the stories, but I
Mm-hmm.
think big a lot of the big things is comes boils down to the things that we can control versus what we can't control.
Mm-hmm.
Are always over when we become overwhelmed. It's oftentimes because we're it's not talk about doing things last minute and doing all this work or making things difficult for ourselves because there's different things that would overwhelm us.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking kind of like emotional and mental overload. I'm thinking of I want to do everything at once, or I'm worried about a project, or I'm worried about something that someone said, or a situation, but I can't control it. And yeah, I'm still worried about it. Um, it's like what are the things that I can do now? So if I'm worried about my boss's reaction to me not this project not going well, or maybe a customer being mad, I think I control the customer's reaction. No, can I control my boss's reaction? No, but what can I control is maybe the task that I have to do now. If like I have to send an email, I have to write up to finish this presentation and send the email, and then worrying about the reactions comes later. I cannot control that, but the thing I can control is working on something, doing a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's the same with kind of overcomplicating things. It's like want want. Let me think of my website. My
Mm-hmm.
website has been on construction for a really, really long time because I wanted it to be perfect. I want it to already have many resources in it. I want it to have lots of good finished artwork and just all the bells and whistles.
Mm-hmm.
And just the thought of setting it up was too overwhelming. I decided to cut back. It's like, what is the simplest thing that I can do? Baby steps. You don't have to build the whole car to get moving when you can just on a hop on a skateboard. Like baby steps.
Mm-hmm.
Simplify things for yourself. But yeah, overcomplicating and then also focusing on things you can't control. I think it's overwhelmed. And that includes other people's feelings and emotions.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So externally, you would say like the reason why you feel like a lot of mental overload happens is just managing other people's feelings, at least in the workplace. Mm.
Yeah,
Okay.
that can add to it. Then of course there's the external factors. The internal factors is, let's say, when you have a lot of work to do,
Mm-hmm.
and because you're not doing it because starting a task is just too difficult. You see a massive to-do list and you can't get yourself to start,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's procrastination, and that also leads to the overwhelm too. So we can consider the internal and the external factors.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Um, how much of a role do you feel social media plays in mental overload?
Mm, there's, I think, a big you need to have a good relationship and set boundaries with social media for sure. And especially as an artist, or just anyone who's going to be comparing themselves, I think it can add a lot to it. So first, there's the time aspect. But not before we dive into anything else. You can spend a lot of time just scrolling on social media,
Mm.
and you kind of feel guilty for wasting your time.
Mm-hmm.
And that leads to other methods of spiraling mentally. Then, in terms of posting content, I think also, especially as an artist, it's like, is your approach to it. You post something,
Mm-hmm.
you doing it because you want the attention, and obviously we do, especially as artists. We
Yes.
want the likes. We want people to like our art, and
Mm-hmm.
like we want our
Oh,
channels to grow.
Hi, sorry I'm late.
Hello,
hey, welcome in, money. No
mommy.
worries. Let me
I am so
just. No, no worries. Welcome in. Let me just. This down.
thank you, thank you.
There we go.
So you make the adjustments. I could keep talking.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Mommy, how
Keep
are you
Yeah,
talking.
doing?
Welcome in, money.
I'm doing good. Sorry I'm late.
No
Just came back from
worries.
volleyball and now I made a dinner.
JS Dude says hi. Hey, we're
Yeah,
Hoodie
I did
Gang,
Hi,
ask to
guys.
PS
start
dude.
earlier.
Yes, usually we start at like around 10,
Mm-hmm.
like my time.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I'm a little tardy,
Okay.
but I'm here.
Yeah, but go ahead. I'll continue.
Yes.
Oh yeah. I guess as artists, want like overwhelm can be wanting that attention and just like for instance, and I'm very guilty of this. Let's say I spend 30 minutes creating a post,
Mm-hmm.
and the next 2 hours like refreshing it. Like that's just the 2.5 hours of my time. Why did I spend an extra 2 hours just making the Instagram post when I didn't need to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so just kind of stressing about growth and not necessarily focusing on the content that you want to put out. So it's like it's a fine line of where it's sucking all of your attention and you're kind of putting your priority and your heart into the wrong things,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to focusing on what you want
Mm-hmm.
to do. Lately, I have post, for instance, I haven't worried about algorithm or whether people will like it or not.
Mm-hmm.
I've been approaching it as what makes me happy. Like I want to look at my own feed for me. Like, does this look pretty to me and it resonates with other people? Then okay.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like you have to just shut out social media to not be mentally overloaded, or you feel like you just need to find a balance? Or I guess maybe how do you get to that? I guess a better question would be how do you feel you get to that point of where it's like I'm doing this for me and not for social media?
I think it's always going to be partially there, even though I'm trying to do it for
Mm-hmm.
me, if that makes sense. Because
Mm-hmm.
again, obviously, I would love to grow. I'm trying to use techniques to make my content more helpful to people, which would make it so that people want to follow me and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's like it's you have to decide that. I don't know when or how you decide that, but
Mm-hmm.
I think there comes a time where you sit there and you're scrolling or you're posting and you're like, what's the point? And either you will disconnect entirely
Mm-hmm.
and then you will just try to shift. So for me, I knew as a whole, I'm like, I don't like this mental energy that I have. This like I'm posting and then I feel sad because it's not getting likes, and then I don't even like my post.
Mm-hmm.
So I just know that I want to put content out that's meaningful. I think when you do that, you get the right engagement back.
Mm-hmm.
Over then it becomes a positive experience as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so recently, I've been working on myself, and there are flaws that I know I have. Um, but I feel like, and I've always grown up with the mentality of like when you're dealing with something, you're just supposed to deal with it on your own. That's like how the stuff about my family installed in me. It's just like you deal, or that's the type of family dynamic I have where you don't really go and you don't reach out to people to help you with your problems. You just deal with it because the world doesn't really give a shit. So I guess my in relation to that, my question is, do you feel like dealing with mental overload, do you feel like it's a solo process or do you feel like you need people to help you in order to overcome that?
I think that it's an interesting question to ask me because I'm notoriously terrible at asking and receiving help,
Mm-hmm.
asking for and receiving help. But I think that it isn't necessarily a solo process.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to mean that you reach out to friends and family because you may not be comfortable doing that. It's just maybe you're just not ready for them for that kind of conversation because there's some weight behind it or expectations even. You don't want them to feel like they need to help you or
Mm-hmm.
like they need to solve your issues. Um, always other resources you can find, like few techniques.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't necessarily one else, but one I'll list a few where you're not necessarily alone. Try to take it in by yourself. I do a lot of journaling, meaning like talking to myself. So I create I'm like a second person in the sense that
Mm-hmm.
I'm having a conversation with myself my journal throughout the day. The way I'm not alone because I'm like writing to myself, kind of responding to myself as a second person.
Mm-hmm.
So bare minimum, you try that so that you're just not like in your head the whole time, but you're talking it out, even if it's in a journal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in terms of focusing and other approaches, like depending on whether you have health insurance or not, or maybe try free trials of things. There's always kind of like those online or those companies that offer online therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Therapy is always a good option if it's available to you. And then also co-working spaces. I don't necessarily talk to people or give them information about my life, but a lot of times I've joined groups where you're just studying together. Your camera doesn't have to be on, but you're in a room with people,
Mm-hmm.
on a Zoom call, and you're not alone. So you're kind of working through your own tasks or things, but you don't have to feel alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think finally, like Twitch, this is why sometimes I may not stream, but I'll be on your stream, G, like, like, I'll have you guys on while I'm doing stuff so I don't feel alone.
Mm-hmm.
Or I look at study streams and just having that in the background, knowing that there's people there live,
Mm-hmm.
makes you feel like you're not alone, even if you're not sharing else about your life.
Yeah, those are some good. For sure, journaling was definitely something that helped me. Just because, like, I don't really like to ask people for help when it comes to stuff. When it comes like things that hurt me and things like that, I like to internalize them and maybe like I'll just get over it, or maybe I'm being too sensitive. And I felt like journaling was a way because like I could talk and vent my feelings without the fear of being judged or being perceived a certain way. So for sure, I think journaling is a great way to do that. And also, yeah, being productive in terms of mental overload. I do co-work sometimes with friends, and I just recently co-worked with Money on some stuff and got work done. So it's definitely an efficient way to work through mental overload. So I can definitely agree with you there. Um, let's see. Can you give an example of when you experienced severe mental overload and how you overcame that?
Um,
Also, PS Dude says, welcome back, Money.
an
Sorry, there was someone
example.
at the doorbell, so I just yeah.
Anyways.
Or that's a good example. Dave met no. I know you prepped me for this, but I didn't prepare because life has been
No
overwhelming,
worries, no worries.
as you may know.
Mhm. It
Um,
doesn't necessarily have to be severe either. It could just be one recent example and like how you overcame it.
They're putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
I'm just
I
kidding.
think I think like maybe not, I won't give like a specific, but there are times when let's say I have a misunderstanding with someone
Mhm.
and someone I care about, and sometimes it's over something silly, maybe like they misinterpreted my tone of voice, or I'm like I'm kind of frustrated with them. I kind of don't solve it in that moment. It's like we just let it go. Um, those cases, I cannot control that person, um, reaction or what they said or things like that. Or maybe I'm overreacting. Like, are they mad at me?
Mhm.
Like, did I say something wrong? All that stuff. Rather, and usually that puts me in a spiral. Like, I can't do any tasks. I can't do anything because I'm sitting there replaying the conversation over and over. And I'm sorry, this isn't a specific,
No, no,
more
it's fine.
generalized
Mhm.
thing, but you sit there and you repeat the conversation over and over again. Were they right? Was I right? Am I overthinking this? Are they mad at me? Do they hate me now? Like, so,
Oh my gosh, I feel the same
that is
way.
what,
I'm an overthinker as well, girl.
it's pretty bad, but I will always be that way, right? What I do is again, it comes back down to writing things and journaling.
Mhm.
I take the time to sit down and write it out. Like, what am I feeling right now? Like, if it's in my head,
Mhm.
I can't catch it. It won't work. It
Mm-hmm.
has to come out of my head. Write it down. What am I feeling right now?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I feeling this way? And then it's like, okay, Michelle, like that doesn't make any sense. I'm good at giving other people advice. So now that I've written it down, I can give myself advice on this topic.
Mm-hmm.
And that usually helps talk myself down and just put things in perspective. It's out of my head. And then at the end of that, I always ask myself the same question on anything that I write out. It's like, is this a situation that I can control forward,
Mm-hmm.
or can I not control it? Like, meaning, is it done? It's over. There's nothing else I can do about it. Then accept it and move past it. Or if the solution is, damn, I need to text this person tomorrow
Mm-hmm.
because there was something missing there, then I have an action item. I have something that I can do. And once you put something into action, like action really reduces the anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do something about it. Let it go. Acknowledge or take action.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's usually my approach to. Did I answer the question? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what the question was.
Oh, so that question was,
So,
can you give an example of when you experienced severe mental overload, and how did you deal with it? Yeah. So I think,
that's
yeah.
how I deal with those types of conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
For me, I'd say maybe, I'm not sure if it's necessarily mental overload. Maybe dealing with my dad's death. Um, when I was in high school, my dad died in my junior year, and I know for me it felt like no one should be happy. I don't understand how people could be happy and like going about their lives and things like that. And going through that time was difficult, and I felt like I said the mentality that I have and I'm trying to learn now is that you don't have to deal with stuff alone. You can reach out to people, and having just someone to talk to and just not necessarily try to find a solution to the problem, but just to hear you out and just let you talk really helped me get to a place where the world didn't look so gray and so dead. It was definitely overloading for me in the sense that I had to deal with my dad's death and dealing and processing with that, and then also school stuff like I had AP English and having to deal with that and finding a way to function through that. Um, and like I said, I feel like the process is different for I think it's different for everyone. But like you said, I wish I did have the techniques like journaling. Like I said, not everyone was willing to reach out, and that's not their responsibility, in my opinion. I mean, I feel like good friends should reach out when you're going through stuff, but that is not their responsibility to deal with your mental issues. I think the best way I did deal with it was just, and actually what set me on the path to social work was having a social worker at my high school. He didn't necessarily give me solutions to what I was going through, but he listened to me and just, tried to get me to express how I felt. And that helped me work my way into a better mindset of how to process the world without my dad in there. So, at least for me, that was how I dealt with mental overload. Money, I know you're jumping away there, but I don't know if you
Sorry, I feel so rude
wanted
eating
what
in front of
you no
everyone.
problem. I don't know if you wanted to give an example of like any time you went
Of
through
mental overload and like how to overcome it.
yeah, and a way you dealt with it or the way you
I've
processed
never
it.
really. I don't think I deal with like stress very easily.
Mm-hmm.
Like I kind of just I take it all in and I just kind of it's like fight or flight response and I just do what I can
Mm-hmm.
and can't think of an example really. I've had times where like my anxiety because I have really bad panic attacks like anxiety
Mm-hmm.
and like yeah exactly like, for example like sometimes I'd be like shaking, I'd be trembling in front of people and because it like gets to my head and like I have to like really breathe. I think breathing techniques is really good.
Mm.
um yeah, breathing techniques usually I just kind of sleep it off. um like I don't know. I'm not the best to answer this question because
Yeah,
I'm not
no
really great
worries.
at dealing with stress and mental overload.
Yeah,
That's why I'd like to hear more on from
yeah,
Ella.
uh,
This.
yeah. I don't know if you have anything to add, but I was gonna add something else if not. But go ahead if you do.
Oh yeah, but also journaling, as you mentioned, Ella. Journaling was definitely like the main goal for me this year for 2024 was to journal a lot more. I have a journal. Like I've got a written journal here. My journal.
Mm-hmm.
It looks
Uh,
really plain, but
Mhm.
but then also I had the latest I think iOS update on the iPhone, and they have a journal. So I've been journaling on here. I switched from the paper to digital journaling. I think digital journaling is a lot easier for me because I'm always on my freaking phone.
yeah.
So just like putting in an entry every night, talking about your day. I think it's really helped for me, and also just like seeing someone, seeking help, getting just spending time with the people around you, like the ones like for example like so me and G we do our study sessions like
Mhm.
whatever our grind, and like that's comforting in a sense, and just yeah, and then yeah, so I'm also seeing someone, so
Okay.
I'm saying seeing someone, I meant like therapy counseling,
Mhm.
not like seeing someone romantically, no.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's definitely want to learn more from you, Ella.
Um, yeah, it sounds like both of you are implementing like the techniques that work for you. Like on the journaling, like I think I'm also a digital person. I just type faster.
Mhm.
But, I literally just have it open all day. It's not like need it. I need more than a morning journal or a
Mhm.
night reflection. I need to converse with myself all day because that way, if I'm working or doing something and my mind starts to go on a tangent,
Mhm.
I'll just go straight to it. Like it's like okay, or like okay, you're freaking out about this, but you really need to work on this project right now. I get that you're stressed about this, but you can worry about this like maybe around 3 o'clock. Focus on this thing right now. Like I have
Mhm.
to talk to myself all day.
Mhm.
So I'm like extreme journaling to a certain extent. But and then comment G on what you were saying before about how I like the world you kind of expected friends to reach out to you during that difficult time or
Mhm.
it just keeps going. And I'm not saying that we expect a certain thing,
Mhm.
we have certain expectations when a loved one passes, but it's like definitely don't expect it to be like that, where the world just keeps going and a lot of the stresses that we feel is because again things that are out of control. How is it
Mhm.
that the world keeps going? How is it that my friends don't know what I feel or like they don't reach out? But on the other side, you don't know if they have it. They don't know what to do either. They don't know
Mhm.
how to reach out. They don't know what right. You reached out to someone to help you through it, like the social worker you
Mhm.
said.
Yeah.
Um, and it comes down to not necessarily that the world is moving past it. It's like how do I now move forward through the world?
Yeah.
What techniques do I need? And sometimes that's sleeping. Like you say, money, you just sleep it off, and that's
Yeah.
okay.
That's actually a
So
very
I
good.
find
Mhm.
I love
finding the
sleeping. I'm an
techniques.
Yeah.
advocate.
Yeah, like I think that's like during my self-help journey, and it's a continuing journey. Yeah, that was like one of the best pieces of advice is like sometimes the world is just it's overwhelming, and sometimes you just need to reset, and sleeping is the best. I think just meditating a bit on it more, though, in terms of like going through something that mentally overloads you, it helps to break it down maybe into steps or concepts. Like first, maybe structuring about yourself and how you're feeling. And once you have that under control and understanding the dynamics of like people outside the situation, like you said, not everyone's going to know how to deal with what you're going through. And maybe, or they're going through their own thing and they're not really being considerate of like other people, which is again, not their problem, but like putting into perspective of that, like they don't really have the tools to help you through whatever you're going through. And like maybe, finding ways on which you can help break that down for them, which helps you. Also, I like the fact that you talked about having a journal, not just like for certain periods, but throughout the day. There's a self-help book that my friend Ali sent me recently where it says like, but it's a completely different topic. It has to do about like getting out of art block, where write about anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be about your problem, but that consistency of writing and having a routine of just like maybe you just saw a bird today and you just write a few pages or a few sentences about the bird and like what the bird did or whatever gets you in a routine of like letting out. It's kind of like a faucet. Like when you turn a faucet on and letting out all the water and stuff like that. It's kind of similar in the same way when you're journaling. You're just all that stuff that's inside, you're just letting it out constantly. And it's not doesn't necessarily have to be when you're going through something. It could be like you said, just throughout the day, something simple that happened, like, oh, I dropped my bowl of food on the floor or whatever. Just talk about that, you know. I think just having the process, the act of doing something helps. I feel like sometimes we do need to be passive, and that's just taking it easy. But I feel like being active too, even if it's not necessarily towards the goal you're trying to achieve, it helps with mental overload. Um, let's see. Okay. So we're gonna shift a little bit towards art. How important would you say your art is to dealing with mental overload?
Um, it's become very important.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's always been important.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing it. I realize like I'm not in a good place, or sometimes I'll be like, oh, I'm just not happy right now, or what is it? And it's like, oh, have I done the things that I love lately?
Mm-hmm.
And since some of it is like, have I listened to any BTS lately? No, I haven't. I got but most of it is like, okay, have I done any art lately? And it's like, no, I haven't. So
Mm-hmm.
I sit down, start drawing. That's usually always the turning point, or that's usually when you see me come back from a Twitch hiatus.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I question, why am I not doing the things that I love?
Mm-hmm.
Push myself to start and do something and just feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Um, on top of that, I've always been obsessed with like art that I'm happy and proud of, and I keep using the word meaningful and everything, and it's like it's become a little cringe that I keep saying it, but
Mm-hmm.
pushing myself to dig deep and like, how do I make my art meaningful to me? Like, and that's exploring topics have plagued me all of my life, such as like low self esteem and mental overwhelm, or like issues with procrastination and mental health, and like how do I turn that into beautiful art?
Mm-hmm.
And been help it's just talking about it and help and like and putting it out there has been helping me because I feel like, I don't know, it's a release, and then also feels good when people say and or comment or message me lately and say like, this is gonna help others and this is really great. And I'm not doing it for those comments, but wow, it feels so good to see that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see.
Answer the question.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
pretty
you
bad at
did.
answering
You
the
did. No,
question.
no, you did a good job of answering. Um, I feel like art is very expressive, and it's a medium. I don't like to. I know people just sometimes consider art to just be like drawing or painting, but it's much more than that. And I definitely feel like once you don't put a limiter on like what it is, it definitely helps you work through mental overload. Um,
Also mentally freeing. Like, just draw. I just
mhm.
force myself to draw. When you're drawing, you're not thinking.
Yeah, that
I
too.
stop thinking about everything else.
Hmm.
It's like a way to shut down my brain. My brain that never stops when I start drawing or start painting, and why it's great for me.
I think that's like one of the benefits, at least for me, for being an overthinker, right? Is that because I overthink, there's so many concepts and things I can come up with, and that helps with me in creating art. And the downside, though, is like, again, the mental overload that comes from overthinking and creating scenarios in your head of like, oh, I didn't respond to this person in a certain time, so now they think that I'm ignoring them, and now they
Oh
don't
my
want to
god,
talk to
I
me,
feel
you know?
that. I
So
relate.
I struggle with that so much, and like I often now I've been hopefully you guys don't hear that, but they're going crazy out there. I often deal with the whole what I'm trying to tell myself now in regards of like how I handle relationships and people in my life is that they really don't care as much as you think they do, because like I will be like, oh, I did this thing, and the way I said this thing maybe made them feel some type of way, and that's why they're acting the way they're acting, where it's like, no, they really just don't care, like. And that's been helping, at least with me, for my overthinking, and uh creating fake scenarios in my head where I try to run like a back and forth on like how to deal with this problem by putting myself in the situation. So,
Mm.
and I feel like art is helps me and be expressive with that. So I think you did answer it. Let's see. So going back a bit to what you were saying about like being motivated and stuff, do you feel like mental overload is like what stops you from doing what you do, or do you feel like it's a just a lack of true passion? Because like one thing I was talking to Money about like earlier this year is like I feel like I say like if I really wanted to do something, I would do it instead of just making the excuse of like, oh, this is this XYZ. Like I don't really have the passion to do what I want to do. I just don't really care for it, because if I
Mhm.
care for it, I'd make time for it. So for example, this podcast is one of the things that I said I've always wanted to do, but like I was busy with other things, but I felt like the truth was I just didn't really want to do it, because if I did, I would put my money where my mouth is. Welcome in, D.
Mm. Tell someone else, but I have a lot to say. So if money, you want to go first, you can go first.
What was the question or
So
like the
I
topic?
guess what I was asking Money is like, do you feel so you know how like we make excuses about things that we don't want to do,
Oh, like
like
procrastinating?
yeah, in a sense, because I was saying in terms of mental overload, like we are like, oh, I have this to think about and I have this to do and blah blah blah, versus like
Yeah,
just being honest with yourself and saying, well, I don't really want to do this. Like for example, like
yeah,
if I'm saying like, oh, I want to make this animation, but I'm so busy
yeah.
doing this one. And first, like there's 24 hours in a day. At some point, I can find even 30 minutes to draw a frame, even if it's not a lot. It's progress. Do you think so? Do you think that it's actually mental overload, or do you think it's just being lazy, or
I
not being
wouldn't
lazy,
say
but yeah, not really having the
I wouldn't
passion to
really
do it?
yeah, I wouldn't really call it lazy because sometimes you have those off days where you just don't feel motivated to do something. And I wouldn't say it's lazy because if it's lazy, that means you're intentionally, you know,
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
not wanting to do something, but you want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you don't have that motivation for that day for like doing your animation and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I kind of understand. I kind of get it. For me, it's like yeah, I procrastinate, but I also like keep myself busy. Like I do a lot of things at once,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like if I'm not doing something, I think gee, I don't know if like maybe I told you this, but I
Mm-hmm.
definitely told this to my counselor. But I told her like if I'm not doing something, then I'm in the back of my mind, like like there's something is like I'm gonna think of something in the back of
Mm-hmm.
my mind. Even if I'm on vacation, oh my god, I'm thinking of school, I'm thinking of work. What are people gonna do when I'm not there?
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't
I'm
even
checking my stuff.
like I can't enjoy my vacation completely because I'm always overthinking, thinking like, oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
these people are gonna need me to submit something, like or like with my activities like I barely have days off really
Mm-hmm.
like I think like G knows like I have something to do every single day
Mm-hmm.
and only recently I've opened up my Mondays and Thursday nights and even then I still go like I have to go to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my only free days, but yeah, every single day I got something to do, but it's just me trying to occupy myself because if I don't occupy myself with something then I don't know, I just feel like I'm not productive, but that's not a good way to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not a good way to look at it, and I'm sure a lot of people do the bare minimum and think they're the most productive people in the world, and that's okay too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What do you think, Ella?
Yeah, my therapist would chuckle at her display, but um, there's I'll answer your question with a different approach in a second. But yes,
Mm-hmm.
money, I can
No, like
relate
I
to
said,
that. It's like
I'm
where
totally
we can't
fine.
turn off our brains. Sorry, what?
Oh no, I said I was just totally fine with going on tangents if we have to. Go ahead.
Okay. But yeah, this that feel sometimes no matter how much we do, we have to keep busy, and we're not productive enough, and that in itself is a kind of, I feel, at least for me, like an overcompensation of those times where I've been lazy on endless days, and like even when I'm lazy, I don't relax because I'm thinking of something I should be doing, right?
Mm.
So, and I can relate to that. Even I've been on leave from work due to a family issue for now 3 weeks, and I check Slack every day. That's not my job right now, but yeah, I understand. It's busy. I don't think it's necessarily bad. As we set the bar too high for ourselves, because if
Mm-hmm.
you put someone else, your friend, probably in your same position, you would tell them, "Wow, you're doing so much. Don't be hard on yourself. You're very productive." Be a lot more lenient to someone else. Yet why are we so hard on ourselves? Like, do so much, and
Mm-hmm.
we don't have to do much more. But that said, we want to do much more. So, gee,
Mm-hmm.
uh, um, oh, it's
Thanks, G.
Sorry.
good.
Oh, what did you say, Al?
Cool. Then, but yeah, I can relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
And you were also asking about like a lack of passion
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stops us. Are we just being lazy, or are we not doing something just because we're not doing something just because we truly want to do it or not? And it's like, would you ask that? You wouldn't ask that of your friend, but we're asking it of ourselves. Said,
I feel
um,
like I wouldn't ask it out of my friend just because I don't want to be rude to them. Because like at
it's
least for
true.
me, well, I'm just gonna give my opinion. Just like I know the majority of people every year, they're like, new year, new me. These are my goals for this year. And like, or they'll be like, I don't like to set goals for myself because like I never reach them. And it's like, but did you try? Right. And that's the thing. Like, I'm not gonna get on, at least for me, for myself this year and how I'm moving forward. I'm not gonna
Mhm.
get on myself if I don't necessarily accomplish my goal, but I will get on myself if I don't try. So like I said, this whole podcasting thing is very new to me. I don't know exactly if I'm doing it right or wrong, but the fact that I'm
Mhm.
doing it, I feel like I succeeded in what I wanted to do, because that was one of the things I've always wanted to do, and I decided I was going to do it regardless. I was like, oh, I'm going to wait till I have a good lineup of guests, or oh, I'm going to wait until I have the right overlay, or oh, these are excuses that I made. And this year I said, you
Everyone's got
know
to start
what?
somewhere.
Yeah, I'm just gonna start. I'm gonna do it because this is something that I wanted to do. At least that's how I feel. I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm just saying that when it came to
Um,
mental overload and me thinking and overthinking it, I feel like it really isn't mental overload. It's just a lack of passion of me wanting to do what I said I wanted to do. But that's just me. And I wouldn't tell that to someone. Even though I am saying all this, I wouldn't say to someone, oh well, you don't really want to do it then. Just that's because I don't want to be rude to them. But that's how I feel. Like, because if you really wanted to
will
do it, then do
challenge
it.
you a bit.
Yeah.
I will challenge you a bit
Challenge me a bit. Yeah.
because
Like, just to
again,
give an
you're being
example,
harsh
right?
on yourself.
If I'm no, if I'm just
So
being
like,
candid, I'm gonna be straightforward. Remember when I was talking to you about making videos, right? About like doing
yeah,
skits and stuff, and like how long it took me to pump out a video. And that was, if I'm just being honest, it's just there were other things that I wanted to do more than making the video, because I would have gotten out on a regular time versus where you set out the plan to do it, and you got your videos out. And in fact, instead of just making one video, you made multiple videos. So You know what I'm saying? Like when you
That
say you're
is
going to do
true.
something, you're going to do it versus having the passion to actually do the thing. But again, that's just
Yeah,
me.
so I guess there's two parts to it. So
Mhm,
like you're right, we have to always do a gut check. Like,
mhm,
um, is this still my passion? Is this still what I want to do?
mhm,
Like you can have a goal of, like you said, creating videos,
mhm,
and then 2 months later you're like, that's not exactly what I want to do. So
mhm,
I see what you mean by saying like I don't have the passion for it anymore. So it
mhm,
makes sense why I keep trying to do it,
mhm,
and you can shift your focus. So that 100%, I kind of see it as reevaluating if your goals and the things you want still align with you.
mhm,
And I do that. But then I was a different interpretation, or my original interpretation, which is what I was saying I would challenge on, which
mhm,
is not exactly a challenge, it's a different approach. It's like, it is what you want to do, but yet you're still not doing it. Like, I still want to be a YouTuber or do YouTube despite all these years. I'm not doing it. Is it because I lack the passion for it?
mhm,
Necessarily. Passion is not what makes you do things.
mhm,
I don't like relying on passion, relying on motivation. I think, is what has made me delay, restart things over and over again because I'm waiting for motivation.
mhm,
Motivation is fleeting, motivation is a bonus.
mhm,
You cannot rely on that. So
mhm,
I think just because you don't do something, it doesn't mean that you're not passionate about it.
mhm,
It means you don't necessarily have yet the tools to do the things that you want. So for instance, passion or my dream or my goal of doing YouTube or something might be too overwhelming. It's too big. It's like to create all these videos and I have to have thick skin and I have to do all this and like I'm thinking of the huge big picture, and a lot of people,
mhm,
the equivalent of their goals are like, this is just too much. And it's not that they lack passion, but it's like overwhelming. So what are the tools that I put into place? Taking years and years to put it into place. I will always procrastinate and I will always not want to do something.
mhm,
It's start small. Keep it simple, stupid. I wrote that on a sticky.
mhm,
I'm not calling stuff stupid, but I'm like, keep it simple, stupid. What's the simplest thing you can do to
mhm,
just work towards the goal? You're not gonna be a 100,000 like account yet, or
mhm,
subscriber account yet, but what can you do is like, oh, the script for the next video, do one small thing.
mhm,
Then, and with everything else, like I wrote, and you can tell, you're gonna share it later, but I did put together some of the techniques that have helped me
mhm,
to kind of develop things. But it's discipline, I think.
mhm,
Habits. I developed the habits of waking up every day and being purposeful.
mhm,
Even if I do nothing else, then do something for 5 minutes
mhm,
and still purposeful my day.
mhm,
Like, and I've just developed just the techniques to keep me active every day, even if it's a very productive day, or even if I just did 5 minutes of anything.
mhm.
It's been years in the making of developing the habits to do that. And developing those habits and developing the techniques and systems is what's going to help you into your passions.
Mhm.
It's not lack of passion, it's lack of the technique, and you just don't know how to get there yet.
So you don't think discipline really is a deterrent
Discipline,
on?
very important. Discipline and habits, not lack of passion.
Hmm. I think that's fair because I was talking. I mean, it's related. It's not the same, but I was talking to Money about like relationships and things, and like how at a certain point, chemistry can only take you so far. With like having a relationship with someone, you have to choose that person. Even through the hard times. So I feel like in an application to this, yeah, having discipline, I can see that. Maybe I guess maybe I was a little bit too blunt when it came to how I deal with like things that I wanted to do in my future and like mental overload and me blaming my mental health on why I'm not doing the things that I want to do. But I feel
Fair
like
though.
that's what helped
That's
me to
fair.
be like, well, do you actually, well, at least for me, what helped was just like, do you actually want to do this? Because if you don't, like that's the reason why, because you don't really want to do it. But yeah, I can see your perspective and how that
Think about it.
is into it. Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off,
No,
but
no.
that's also a technique. Like you are taking a step back to evaluate if this is your passion, and yes, you're giving yourself tough love.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a technique as well, where you're taking a step back and to find the hard truths and trying to like kind of set your path right, understand yourself.
Mm-hmm.
People don't, they're just like, oh, just try to push through or like wait for passion, but you're evaluating your
Mm-hmm.
passion. And I think also a technique.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I have just one more question. And then we can go into the techniques, and references. Unless money, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to exclude you. Did you have any
Oh
questions or
no,
anything you
no,
wanted to
it's
add?
okay. No, I
Okay.
kind of see Ella's point. Like with like, yes, you should have like a passion. You could be motivated, but it's just like disciplining yourself to follow through. Because some people can have bursts of energy, a burst of passion or motivation. Like one day I want to pick up this new hobby, and then the next day it's like, oh well, they're not motivated anymore. So yeah, definitely having that discipline and like kind of learning the techniques to continue pursuing that passion. For example, like if you want to learn a new language, for example, like it you have to really like discipline yourself into learning something new every day. Spend 5 minutes on Duolingo or something
Mm-hmm.
every single day to in order to like get that uh dedication, commitment.
Mm-hmm.
So I see what you mean, but like I think yes, passion and motivation is still good to have though. Like for something, it's just following through with the
Um,
passion and motivation.
Mm. Okay.
I have one more maybe
Oh,
adjacent
go ahead.
example of like, yes, I agree. You have like passion, like it's the driving force, but then how do you follow through with it? Example is like I will, no matter how passionate I am about the things that I want to do, I will always fall back into a slump. I will always find myself in days of like I can't do it. Like what am I doing? Sleep for days, right? But because of the techniques I've put into place or like the habits I've built, rather than disappearing or being in a slump for 2 months, which would happen, kind of pull myself out of it after a few days. I'll pull up my Notion and I'm like, okay, I have written. What do I have to do? I have to write things out. I have to like take a shower or like I don't know, just like I put I've put in the things that I know will help me, and then I can move forward.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I've told Money this, and she knows. But like 2023 was one of the hardest points of my life so far, and just like I was in a really bad mental place there, and just pulling myself out of depression it's a chore in itself. But I think what has helped me in now in 2024, that's it 2024 or 2023. I'm sorry. Um, 2023 was hard. But what helped me get into a better space was instead of just saying like, "Oh, I don't want to go back to that period," or "I don't want to think about that period," I tell myself that during that time of me not being productive or doing anything that I needed to do, um, that's what I that's where I needed to be in order to get where I am here. Like I had to be depressed. I had to go through that. I had to sit through that in order to understand myself and get to a point where everything didn't look so black, right? And I feel like restructuring the negative really helps, or using a different perspective, though that is really hard to do when you're going through it and you're zoomed in. So I feel like,
Yeah.
again, but thankfully I had money to help me through that, and that did help a lot. But coming to a place now and being reflective and looking through that and seeing like, I can't be down on myself. I don't want to say, "Oh, I hate that version of me." Like that's still part of me. And that at that time, I needed to be that G Jington in order to be the G Jington I am now. You know what I mean? So I feel like
Yeah, it
restructuring
builds your
definitely does
character.
help. Yeah, in dealing with mental overload. And I just wanted to add that.
I
Mhm.
exactly like I think every experience of yours, no matter whether it's sad or difficult, it is what makes you you and what you how you will grow. Like I keep making this joke
Mhm.
in terms of spinning the negative into the positive.
Mhm.
There's this thing when it comes to content or like kind of becoming successful with content is finding your unfair advantage.
Mhm.
So it's like if you were a medical student, you can focus on medical content. That's like your unfair advantage a bit.
Mhm.
Now, what's my unfair advantage?
Mhm. Mhm.
Oh,
Mhm.
I'm always sad. And,
Yeah.
and then that helped me because now I'm like I'm I joke that I'm always sad. Now I'm creating all this content around it
Yeah.
that that's helping me and maybe helping others. Like
Yeah.
that's my unfair advantage. I turned it into a positive.
Yeah, and that is also reflected in like the view count of that video. Like just like as as a I and again I'm not like trying to say it as like a put down, but as like a small YouTube creator, for you to have that jump of viewership from like just maybe like a few like 40 views, 30 views on one video to having in the thousands, right? Like that
Which I
shows
want to
like
see this
that.
YouTube channel. Hold
Yeah,
up.
we'll
Let
definitely
me
plug
subscribe
Ella.
right
I
now.
Definitely
already knew.
yeah, go
I knew.
subscribe and go watch Ella.
Yeah,
She has
hold
very
on.
good
Let's
content.
let's link
Um,
it in chat.
yeah, but Ella, yeah, just that's a very good way to put it. It's like because that too, I was actually in terms of self help, I was reflecting that, and I was like, uh, what was something I was considering doing in 2023 is like, damn, I'm depressed all the time. But I want to make YouTube content, and I was like fiddling around with the idea of like, well, let me just make a channel and just talk about me being depressed, and like that might help someone else, and I'm making content, even though I'm still sad. So definitely restructuring and like finding your, as you said, unfair
Your outlet.
advantage.
It's an
Yeah,
outlet for you.
yeah, your unfair advantage. Now the problem, and we probably won't get into that, is like, now what happens when you're not depressed anymore? Now you're gonna have to transition in terms of content, But
Like
aside from that,
3.3K views,
yeah,
girl.
yeah, that jump is crazy. Lady says, I've been feeling stuck for a year or two. I tend to ignore my issues and push through. Sometimes nothing helps. Words of encouragement sometimes sound like judgment. Doing better now, but it's stupid hard out there. And that's okay, lady. That's okay. Like, you don't necessarily have to be someone. And I feel like that's another thing, too, I've been thinking about is like, we always try to push the positive view on like, don't be sad. Don't be, you should always be happy. Look at it this way. But sometimes you just need to be sad. That's part of the human experience. Like you have to be
It's
sad
natural.
in order to get to that point. And trying to skip past that process won't help you grow. You know what I mean? Like you'll have to be depressed sometimes. You have to be angry sometimes in order to get to a place of calm. You know what I mean? So that's fine. Like like don't be hard on yourself. I think that's the most important thing. Just accept that part of you as like you said you're feeling stuck. Just accept that like you're a stuck person, and this is who are you are right now, and that eventually you're not going to be stuck because like the bittersweet thing about life is like nothing stays the same forever. You know what I mean? Good times are bad. Nothing stays the same forever. So you might be stuck now, but that's not always going to be the case. You know what I mean? So I would say just take it like that. Um, in terms of the next question and the last question I have for you, Ella, how much do you feel your environment plays into mental overload? Do you feel it's a little thing or a small thing?
I think environment can definitely play a huge role.
Mm-hmm.
I have the luxury of I used to live with my father, and I have mostly had the space to myself, and even then I basically mostly had the space to do what I want
Mm-hmm.
with my own mind. If I need things to be quiet, it'll be quiet, and I can make the space my own. Not everyone has that luxury. Things frustrate them.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it can also be a matter of perspective. It's that internal work again. I'll give two examples. Like I first started streaming. I used to get so frustrated. Like when my dad would walk in and ask questions or talk to me, I'd be like, oh, I get so just like, angry. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm streaming even though he doesn't understand it.
Yeah.
Like, and then that would just make me heated. But then I'm like, why am I getting mad?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's my environment. Why am I getting mad? So I changed my perspective. And then when he would walk in, I would kind of make it part of my streams. Maybe if you've seen that, but I'd be like, hi, Poppy. And then people in the streams would be like, hi, Poppy.
Yeah, as an
And it's
OG
like,
viewer, I remember. Yeah. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
made it more welcoming. It's like I had to shift my perspective in my environment.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's still a luxury.
Mm-hmm.
And even now, like, I'm someone who I had to write down my family, like, please turn your notifications off when you're in my house.
Mm-hmm.
But some of you might know my dad had like a recent issue. So now it's me, my sister, and my niece and my nephew. They're all staying here.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that I would be going crazy, be so frustrated. I'm not. Like again, it's about perspective. It's like nothing can bother me. Oh, one thing, but like
Mm-hmm.
nothing can bother me because it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
It's write it out. Does this truly need to affect me and things like that? So your environment could affect you,
Mm-hmm.
or it could just be your perspective in the environment. I think it
Mm-hmm.
depends.
Okay. Yeah, for me, it's definitely something I'm still learning. Just to give background, my mom has dementia, so it's just me taking care of her right now. I do have help from my cousin, but it's mostly on me, like groceries and everything like that. And me having to deal with her transitioning and me letting go of the person that she was versus the person that she is now. And there's a lot of mental gymnastics that go around with dealing with someone with dementia. But I often too find myself getting frustrated, especially when I want to have my own space. And, I mean, like I said, like in terms of you, I technically do have that freedom to do what I want, right? But I also do have to deal with, like you said, the interruptions. Like earlier in the stream, some of you saw,
Mm-hmm.
I had to go deal with her and, like, her not understanding that, I'm live and I'm doing whatever. But yeah, like you said, restructuring helps. It's something that, like I said, it's something I'm struggling with, but it's something that I'm working on, because it's more of the acceptance of, like, this is how things are. It's not what I want it to be, and like I can choose to keep thinking of it in that way, or I can restructure the way I handle that in terms of when it comes to streaming, right? I can make her a part of my streams if I so choose to do, versus like, oh, I'm just gonna go deal with this real quick and I'll stream. But it's something that I'm still learning. I definitely feel like in terms of like environment definitely plays a role. Because I recently moved different states. I had to do that for my mental health, and I feel like I'm, even though technically I'm not where I want to be in terms of placing and living, it was a necessary thing to get my mind in the way that it had to be, because the environment that I had around me was toxic. I couldn't really think straight. So for me,
Mm-hmm.
at least, I feel like environment does play a lot into mental overload. How about you, Money? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, my environment has drastically changed in like the past 1.5 years ish. Because I was living with my parents for like almost all my life, and then I recently moved out of their place. So I went from like, having a one bedroom in my family home, and then to not, living with my family anymore. I moved out and I live on my own, and it's very different. I like the freedom that comes with living on my own. I get to stream and stuff like that, but then sometimes um I still like, for some reason I still have family duties and stuff like that. Like even them wanting to see me and stuff like that. But yeah, I totally understand. Environment does affect, and it changes you. And especially during the pandemic, I feel like when we were all self-isolating, it was really hard on a lot of people. When we were all quarantining and stuff like that, I couldn't even see my friends. I was stuck at home with my family, and then sometimes, I know this sounds bad, but sometimes I'd be like, "Ugh, I wish my family, my parents went to work," or like, "I wish my family could get out of the house," because I just couldn't stand like being around them for like every single day 24/7 during the pandemic. This was just, when we quarantine. Like normally we don't, like, all of us are busy. We all have our own lives. I don't see my parents until like really late at night cuz they work. They have their own business. They work really long hours. They only get like one day off per week and stuff like that. But then during the pandemic, staying at home with them every single day was like mentally grueling. And I love my family. I love my parents, but like sometimes you just want to get out of there, and sometimes it's just. And then now that I'm out, like I don't plan on moving back. Like I don't think I'll. Like I love my freedom. I love my independence, but sometimes they're so needy and they want me to move back in with them. And but you know, that's how it is.
Yeah, yeah,
They're
for
empty
sure.
nesters.
Yeah. They don't know what to do with their time yet. Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like I said, environment definitely plays a role in it. It's just, yeah, it's something less, like you said, the whole parents thing and just family dynamic. It's, at least for me, because when I moved to the state, I was actually like Ella, like I said, now you said you're more so living with more of your family. When I moved here, I was kind of nervous about it at first because I had lived with my mom for just with her dementia, alone with her for just a while, and I was worried that, like, while I tried to find a new place here with my mom, I had to live with family, and I was worried, like, oh, the dynamics are gonna change. Oh, it's gonna be bad. They're not gonna respect my space. All, but I actually kind of miss it, being with family, and living with them and having that dynamic. So, and that was good for my mental, my mental health, and like having people around and interacting with them. And yeah, so I can definitely, at least for me, for sure, environment plays into it. um yeah, but do you, I know you kind of went over it earlier, but like, what are the biggest techniques you feel help with dealing with mental overload? You can just do a recap before we plug resources and stuff.
Um, the biggest techniques. Well, the ones I mentioned already are focusing on the things that you can control versus what you can't control. It's really at the core of things. Stop stressing about the things you can't control.
Mm-hmm.
You can acknowledge your feelings on it, but you're said and done, but you got to move past it. And then for the things that you can control, what can you do about it? Um, and action reduces anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is journaling and writing it down. Just
Mm-hmm.
write it all out. Um, and for the two things we talked about, I mentioned the two additional ones that I put in my resource.
Mm-hmm.
So, one is like kind of, it's still about writing it down, but it's kind of the concept of like our minds are for having ideas, not keeping them.
Mm-hmm.
So like we have such amazing ideas, but then we forget them. Or just like it could be a great idea, or it could be a reminder to like buy milk. You just forget. Don't never trust yourself to remember something because you
Mm-hmm.
won't. Maybe you will, but almost always you will not. So write it down again. Still, like free your mind of the overwhelming thoughts so
Mm-hmm.
that you can process it. But free your mind of unnecessary things. Like you have a great idea, write it down. You need to remember something, capture it somehow, and give yourself room for more great ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Um, one more, but anything you wanted to say,
um
interject. I keep.
Yeah, for me, like I said, restructuring, or just going back over, I think restructuring definitely helps um in like dealing with the mental health. I'm trying to keep track of my train of thought, where I was going with that. Oh yeah. Like when you're saying, like when Lady was saying earlier, how she was feeling depressed about like being in a 2-year rut and things like that, and just restructuring it to say, like, okay, I'm going through this, but this is where I need to be right now in order to get to where I'm going, instead of like be calling, like, for example, like saying, oh, I'm X age and I don't have this, and I'm not doing that. In restructuring is saying, okay, I am 23 and this is where I am right now, and that's okay, and it won't always be that way. Definitely helps take the stress off you meeting societal expectations. And like you said, also you finding out what your disadvantage advantage was, I believe you said, definitely helps with dealing with it. So for example, for me, like I didn't follow through with it obviously, but being depressed in 2023 and I'm me wanting to make content, my advantage was I am depressed. So let me make depression content and talk about that and then post that on YouTube. I'm making content and maybe someone can relate to what I'm going through. And not only does that double the effect of me making content, but maybe someone else reaches out and I read their comment and that helps me process my depression and I find a way to get through that. Um, so I feel like those two things also help. I don't know, Money, if you had anything to add that would help with overcoming mental overload.
And then okay, wait. Oh yeah. So I learned this like I guess yeah, sort of like a technique from my counselor, but when when you have like a bad thought, like something like a thought of yours that's like really, you just can't get it off, but a negative thought, and then you just kind of counter it with a positive thing. So let's say like oh um my boss thinks I'm incompetent, but I have had many successful papers written from school, for example. So just having a
Okay.
counter argument to your own thought, like even though this has happened to me, I have achieved this.
Hmm.
Something to counter your negative thought. So
So,
I'm still working on that. That's like a technique that like we just talked about last time, but um yeah, I need to focus more on the positives and
mhm,
not only just focus on the negatives. I can still acknowledge the negatives,
mhm,
but just kind of not dismissing the achievements that I've already had so far, like the progress I've already done so
mhm.
far.
Kind of
So,
like being a lawyer. I'm like, objection. I actually
objection.
do, I
Phoenix
am
Wright.
successful. Yeah, Phoenix Wright.
Be
Objection.
your own Phoenix Wright.
Yeah, be your own Phoenix Wright. That's the title of this episode. Be your own Phoenix Wright. No, just kidding. Yeah, but yeah, I feel like that's a really good point of just like, because like I said, we get into our own heads sometimes, and at least for an overthinker like me, I can think of a million scenarios of why, for example, like if I talk to a friend or something, or I send a friend a message, or like this, even something stupid. Like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna send my friend this meme, and I sent them the meme, and they haven't responded to it, or they don't laugh at it, and I'm like, oh, it's because I didn't respond to them at this day, and that's why they're ignoring me because they're giving me a taste of my own medicine, or some stupid shit like that, or like, oh, I didn't react to some content that they sent me, so that's why they're no, it's either maybe they didn't see it, so finding a good example of like Money, to just put it in, use your example, be like, okay, well, they didn't respond to this meme, but I have a record of them responding to other memes and them enjoying that. So yeah,
Exactly.
definitely being your
Yeah,
own Phoenix Wright.
restructuring. It's
Yeah.
just to add, yeah.
Sorry, Alan, you were gonna say something.
No, I'm agreeing, and yeah, it might be exhausting, might even be unfair
Mm-hmm.
that this is how our minds work,
Mm-hmm.
that we kind of have to talk ourselves down or keep reframing, but
Mm-hmm.
at least the techniques are there. We have to accept that we need these techniques and help us move forward.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Yeah, like just all these techniques that we discussed today, guys, I think are great. Um, and they should really help. Elle also provided a resource on how to deal with mental health. I'm about to plug that in, so definitely take
Oh,
advantage of that. Usually I don't have the resources, but today,
you
Elle
got your
came
own
through.
website,
Yeah,
girl.
Elle came through and she made this guide to help. So Definitely take advantage of this. I
Wow.
don't normally. Well, I this is the part where I usually have resources.
Free download.
But yeah, this is we have to have like links this time, guys. We're improving the podcast. Let's go. But yeah, Elle, thank you for coming on and having this dialogue and back and forth with me. I really appreciate it. And I'm really
Yeah.
glad to see you back on Twitch, even though it's not on your main channel. Hopefully, we see that soon, you know.
That's
But
I don't know
exciting.
about that.
Can
I'm
I
kidding.
just say,
mhm,
Ella, I love your streams. I can't wait to see you back on Twitch. But for all the people, the viewers out there, Ella's streams are so cozy and comfy. And I told you this before, girl. I remember like I had your stream up and it was just the type where you can just like play in the background and just kind of I was doing my laundry. I was folding my laundry when I had your stream open. It's very chill. Definitely recommend. Go check her out. Where this way? Yes.
Appreciate that. I really do.
Go
Things
check
like
out
words
her
like that.
streams. Definitely like one of those very cozy streams, those comfy streams where you can
mhm,
just like play in the background and it's just so chill. I love it.
mhm. Yeah,
Also, you're like really good at like conversations. You're
yeah,
like
very.
so entertaining.
Yeah, I miss those
Thank
streams.
you. I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, also she's a very fantastic artist. As I said before earlier, Elle is the queen of trust the process. So like maybe she'll start with a few lines in random spaces and you're like, how does that? How are we gonna get to where we need to go? And by the end of the stream, she just has this magnificent piece of artwork and I'm like, damn, I could never do that. So if you're into art, definitely go check her out. She also on occasion does just dance streams. I don't know if those will come back.
I
Oh my
don't. Stop
god.
But you
talking
know,
those.
if you like to
Didn't you have a karaoke
smooth,
stream
if you
at
like
one
to
point?
move, yeah, yeah. If you like to move,
Yeah.
yeah. We didn't so much get into her various jobs, but she was also a fitness instructor too. So, you know,
Hope I
for
got the
the
right one.
record, you know. But yeah, definitely go check Elle out. Elle, do you have anything to plug before we say goodbye?
Nothing to plug. I'm really. I've been disconnected because of life, but I'm
Hmm.
so grateful I was able to like kind of step away from that even for a little bit. This was so much fun, and
Hmm.
hopefully we can get back to Twitch or at least creating other forms of content. And yeah, I can't wait to catch both of your streams. I always look forward to that notification.
Yeah, you caught mine the other day.
Hey,
I was
let's
like, oh my
go. Yeah.
god.
All right, Money, do you have anything upcoming or anything you would like to plug for the
I
people?
have the Rogue Energy Twitch takeover, partner takeover that's happening this Thursday. So you check out the Rogue Energy channel on
Mhm.
Twitch. I will be streaming on their channel, and we're just gonna have a good time, have a fun time. Yeah, before I go on, I guess holidays because we've got Easter vacation here, but and then I'll be back the
Oh,
other.
okay.
Yeah, you guys got Easter, Good Friday. Do you guys have those holidays?
Oh yeah, we in America?
Oh,
Yeah. Well, I think today was Palm Sunday actually.
Oh,
Yeah. So for
okay. No, we don't
sure.
have that.
Hmm.
We have Good Friday, and we have like Easter and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Canadian thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. Uh, I think next Sunday, maybe Easter Sunday. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Also,
Hmm.
sorry, another
No,
plug.
go ahead.
You
Hmm.
guys check out my Ko-fi shop. I have glass paintings that I
Hey,
do, and
let's go.
I just finished this commission. Um, I just finished this one. It's Gohan.
Hey, Super Saiyan 2, Gail, go on,
Super
let's
Saiyan
go.
2 Gohan.
so
You guys can
cool.
see. Yeah, I'm just letting it dry a little bit.
Hmm.
Yes, that's Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. And if you guys want to check out my Ko-Fi shop, commission me there.
Okay.
I'll send you a glass painting. Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for the commission for Ko-Fi.
Yeah. So on my end, not so much in terms of like streaming stuff, but we have reached the some of the tiers in terms of getting affiliated for the channel. So I'm going to have to do a bit more streams on this channel. Just they might be just like quick streams just so that we can reach the goal because I have to like stream. So you know the Twitch affiliate
Yeah,
thing.
so tedious and
Yeah,
frustrating.
it is tedious. So because we do this every other week, we do the streams every other week.
Mhm.
So I'm guys, if you see me go live, it's mainly that's because of that, so I can fill the requirement. I'd appreciate it if you can tune in just so we can
Have a
keep it going.
one-on-one with G.
Yeah, it might be one-on-one or sometimes with Money, depending on her schedule and if we're busy. And or I might have
Yeah.
a mini guest on. We'll see. And those will probably be just shoot the
Mini-sode.
shit.
We could do a little
Yeah,
mini-sode.
mini-sode. Yeah, and those might just be like shoot the shit stuff. Like we'll talk about what are the best top 3 anime or some random stuff that we'll just drop our 2 cents.
Silly shenanigans.
Yeah. But aside from that, yeah, there's not really much for me. Oh, can't do that. Okay. I guess we'll find someone else to raid.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
Just gonna say one more time, thanks for having me because life is calling me and it's getting loud up in here, so
Yeah, no worries.
I have to drop off.
Yeah.
But
No.
thank you both again.
Of course, it was lovely having you. Hopefully, we can get you on again for something else.
Yes.
And talk more about art or your various
I hate
jobs. We
me.
don't really get
Okay.
into it, but yeah. Okay.
It's good.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah, G.
everyone. It's nice seeing you, chat.
Okay, guys, again, thank you for joining. I think the next episode we'll have another first guest on. I still got to confirm with them, but yeah, until next time, stay gold and we'll see you later. Bye, guys.
That's the raid message.
Also we're gonna raid G. G Nat, she's an artist, so yeah. Okay, guys, stay gold. Bye.
Bye, guys.
All right, raid G.
Oh, dang.
Okay, we're on. Thank you so much, Money. Appreciate you.
You're welcome. Sorry I was late. I feel bad.
No worries.
Podcast.
I know
Thank
you're doing life stuff. It's okay.
Everybody go follow 2 Cents Podcast. It features Money.
I was gonna raid Gnomes, but she has her raid settings off.
G and Money.
Oh.
Below